All right, diving deep today into Allan Kardec's The Spirits book, specifically Chapter 9. It's all about the law of equality. Kardec, just a heads up if you haven't read it, thought he was talking to spirits through mediums, asking questions and getting some pretty wild answers back. Like, imagine having a deep philosophical debate with, well, the other side about, I don't know, social structures, wealth, gender roles, even death.
It's fascinating, though, right? Because the Spirits book isn't your typical, dry philosophy book. It's a dialogue. And that makes these complex ideas, well, surprisingly engaging.
Okay, so let's break it down. Chapter 9 starts with a biggie. Everyone is equal before God, according to the spirits at least. They're all working towards the same, spiritual goal. Same natural laws apply to everybody.
Right, and they use this powerful image to really drive that home. They say, the sun shines the same on everyone, no matter who you are, where you come from. No inherent superiority or, divine favorites. We all have that same spark.
Which, come on, begs the question. If we're all equal in God's eyes, then why are some people born with more advantages, more talent? Why the discrepancies,
And here's where they bring in reincarnation. They explain that those differences aren't about God playing favorites. It's about souls. And they're all progressing at different rates over many, many lifetimes. So, someone who seems naturally gifted, maybe they're just further along on their soul's journey, more experiences, more lessons learned.
So not better, just further down the path. Like a master chef isn't superior to a culinary student, right? Yeah. They've just spent more time in the kitchen.
Precisely. Each lifetime's a chance to learn and grow. And those experiences shape our aptitudes and inclinations. And get this, some souls from more evolved worlds, they might choose to be born on Earth to help us progress.
Whoa, hold on. Cosmic exchange students, that's a wild thought.
Right, they come with all this wisdom, from a super advanced civilization.
Okay, I need a minute to process that. But shifting gears slightly, we've been talking about individual differences. What about the social inequalities, all around us, the haves and have-nots? Systems that seem to favor some over others. Is that part of some grand cosmic plan, too?
And here, the spirits draw a line. They're saying social inequalities, those are man-made, not divine laws. It's our choices, our systems, our prejudices, not some, preordained order from above.
So we basically created this mess ourselves.
Yeah.
And we have the power to change it.
Exactly. It's not some fixed destiny. And the spirits even suggest that as humanity evolves morally and spiritually, these inequalities, poof, gone.
There's this quote that really stuck with me. Inequalities are destined to disappear together with the predominance of pride and selfishness, leaving only the different levels of merit. So less ego, more focus on the common good, and these barriers crumble.
That's the idea. They see a future where social standing, based on character, you contribute, not arbitrary things like, wealth or family name.
It makes you wonder, what inequalities will fade in our time? What signs of progress do we see already? What could the future hold? It's food for thought. But before we get ahead of ourselves, let's talk about something very real right now. Wealth and poverty.
Yeah, the spirits have some interesting things to say about that. They acknowledge that unequal abilities play a role, for sure. Someone with a knack for business is probably going to end up wealthier. But there are other factors at play, too. Not all of them so pleasant.
Ooh, do tell.
Fraud. Robbery, especially when it comes to inherited wealth. They suggest a lot of those big fortunes passed down through generations might have, some shady origins.
So you're saying those fancy estates and trust funds, built on some morally shaky ground.
It's a possibility, right? And they go even further. They say inherited wealth could be a chance to right those past wrongs, like a karmic opportunity,
So the great-granddaughter of, say, a ruthless tycoon could use her inheritance to fund social justice programs. Now, that's what I call poetic justice.
Exactly. And get this. The spirits suggest the original wrongdoer, now in the spirit world, might influence their heirs to make amends.
Wait, so like a guilty ghost whispering, hey, maybe donate some of that money to charity.
Right, trying to balance the scales from beyond the grave. Pretty wild, huh?
That's a headline I'd read for sure. Haunted by guilt, heir donates millions to atone for ancestors' sins. Okay, so wealth, not always acquired fairly, according to the spirits. But what about the experience of being wealthy? Blessing or curse?
They actually have a pretty nuanced take on that. Both wealth and poverty, they say, come with unique challenges. Neither is inherently better. It's all about how you handle what you're given.
So it's not the money itself, but your attitude towards it, whether you have a lot or, barely enough to get by.
Exactly. They even ask, Which is the bigger test, wealth or poverty?
And the verdict is?
Equally challenging, they say. Poverty can tempt you to, complain, become bitter. Wealth can lead to excess, entitlement, losing sight of what truly matters.
So no matter where you are on the economic spectrum, there are temptations and opportunities for growth. It's all about finding balance. Navigating those challenges with integrity makes you think, how do you see those temptations playing out in the world around us? Something to ponder, right?
Yeah, it's about your character, right? How do you handle abundance or scarcity? How do you deal with it?
That's such a good point. And speaking of challenges and character, let's talk about something that, well, never seems to get old. The equality of men and women.
This is where the spirits, they don't hold back. Men and women equal before God, period.
Okay, that's a pretty bold statement. Even now, what's their reasoning?
They argue that both men and women, they have the capacity for, moral understanding, progress, spiritual growth, no difference there in their spiritual nature. They even mention that spirits can be reborn as either gender.
So it's like your soul doesn't have a gender.
Yeah.
This life, you're a man. Next life, a woman. It's all part of the, the grand scheme. But then why so much inequality between the sexes, even today?
And the spirits, they tackle that head on. It's the unjust and cruel dominion that men have exerted over women. Not some abstract concept, right? They're talking about real historical oppression. Like, think of the suffragettes fighting for the right to vote. Or even now, equal pay for equal work.
It's about power then, not some divine order.
Exactly. Social conditioning. Men using their physical strength to dominate and control, not to protect. And there's this quote, it's pretty powerful. God has given strength to some in order to protect the weak, not to enslave them.
Wow. Powerful is right. Especially back then when these ideas were coming through, it completely dismantles that whole might makes right argument. But what about, the argument that women are just weaker? And that's why they should, stick to certain roles.
They address that too. They say, generally physically weaker. But it's not about inferiority. It's about different functions, like men built for strength, women for dexterity and care. Think traditional roles, right? Men in the fields, women caring for the home and children.
So, not a hierarchy. More like they complement each other, each gender with its strengths.
Right. And they specifically talk about, motherhood, that strength women have, sensitivity, nurturing instincts. But it doesn't mean they're less intelligent or should be kept down in other areas.
So valuing the unique strengths, but not denying equal opportunities or rights just because of some outdated idea of weakness.
Absolutely. They're advocating for equal rights, any special privilege for one and not the other, violation of that principle. Pretty progressive considering the time period.
It's kind of mind-blowing.
Yeah.
That these conversations were happening, over 150 years ago? But they don't stop there, right? Social structures, gender roles, they even make us rethink death.
Yeah. They have this blunt take on our obsession with, fancy funerals, big monuments. They call it the last act of pride.
Ouch. That's a little harsh, don't you think?
Well, think about it. We spend so much time, money, trying to create these, tributes to make sure someone's remembered. But the spirits are saying true remembrance comes from something else entirely.
Not the size of the tombstone or the number of flowers.
Exactly, they ask. Do you believe that marble can save from forgottenness those who had been useless while on earth? It's not about the outward show. It's about the impact you had, the good you did.
A life well lived, the best monument.
Precisely. That's the kind of legacy that lasts.
That's a powerful message. Especially in a culture obsessed with, wealth, status. They're pushing us to focus on the inner qualities, the lasting impact, not fleeting achievement.
And it ties back to that core idea of equality, right? It's not our wealth or our status or even our gender that defines us. It's our character, our actions, the love we share. That's what matters.
Pretty profound stuff. But how do we put this into practice? How do we live the law of equality in our daily lives?
Yeah, that's the million-dollar question. And I think the spirits would probably say that's something we need to, figure out for ourselves. But maybe we can explore some ideas together.
So much to think about. We've talked about natural equality, the ups and downs of wealth and poverty, the importance of gender equality, and even facing death a little more humbly. But the big question is, how do we actually live all this? How do you translate these big ideas into real life in a world where, it often feels like the opposite of equality?
Yeah, it's easy to agree with these ideas, but putting them into practice, that's the tricky part. That's where things get real.
Right. I get it, we're all equal before God, but what does that look like when I'm talking to I don't know, my family, my coworkers, the person I pass on the street.
It's a whole mindset shift, moving away from that scarcity, that competition, that constant comparison game, The spirits want us to think differently, embrace abundance, collaboration.
So not rivals, partners on this journey of spiritual, evolution.
Exactly. To truly believe in equality means you recognize the worth of every single person, no matter their background, their beliefs, their circumstances. It's fundamental.
So respect, compassion, even for the people you disagree with, the ones that are hard to understand.
Because we're all connected. Our actions, they matter. Creating a better world starts with us, our choices, our interactions.
Okay, so how? What does that look like practically? Weaving that law of equality into daily life.
Well, even our language, being mindful, avoiding stereotypes, those generalizations, they just perpetuate division.
Words have power. They can either reinforce inequality or help tear it down. So what else?
Speaking up. When you see discrimination at work, in your community, even at home, being an ally. For those who are, pushed aside, silenced.
And what about, if you're lucky enough to have resources, money, time, whatever?
Supporting organizations, the ones fighting for a more just world. Donating, volunteering, using your skills.
And maybe sometimes it's about just slowing down, really seeing the people around you, connecting with those from different walks of life, listening to their stories.
Because the more you connect human to human, the harder it is to hold on to those prejudices. You see the shared humanity.
This deep dive into the law of equality from the Spirits book, it's been eye-opening. For me, anyway. It's made me think about my own assumptions. How can I help build a better, more compassionate world?
It's been a journey. Kardec's work, this whole dialogue with the spirits, it gives you a way to not just understand equality, but to actually live it,
To all our listeners, if you're curious, definitely check out the Spirits book. But more importantly, take these ideas. See how they resonate with your own experiences. How can you apply these principles in your own life? What small steps can you take today to make a difference? Maybe you'll even inspire others. Until next time, keep diving deep and keep questioning everything.